Welcome to Freakmore Paranormal. I'm John, and welcome. This is the Route 66 in 6 months. Today, well, we're in Claremore, Oklahoma. Let me show you where we're at. We're at the Claremore Museum of History. We're going to take a stroll right through this place and see what they have. We take a little guided tour in here so that they can tell us the history. So let's go check this place out. Check this out. Guess we better sign right here. Make sure we sign the visitor's log. Email. YouTube. Freak. MORE. P-A-R-A, normal. There we go. Check this place out. This looks really, really neat. Looks like they got a ton of stuff in here. And I bet we're about to find out everything. So this museum, it's open daily. 7 days a week. The hours vary. I will leave the hours and all the information here at the end of this video. I'm getting excited already to see all this stuff. I bet there's stuff here I don't even know.
The early inhabitants.
Yeah, when I first got into paranormal, like hardcore, like here in Oklahoma, just instead of like all the big cases and stories, I was amazed by all the history that we actually have here in Oklahoma.
Oh, it's fascinating, really.
A lot of little Indian artifacts. Mm-hmm. So what do we have over here?
And the Osage drum.
Oh, sweet.
That's important, I think.
Got the drum there.
So Claremore was actually in 3 different places before it became permanently here.
Really?
Uh-huh. And the first site was the Osage Indians that had a site up closer to Uliagale.
Okay.
And then the Cherokee and the Osage kind of battled over it. And the Cherokees kind of got more control and moved it to a different spot called the Claremore Mound.
Okay.
And then it moved to where we currently are today.
And the Claremore Mound, that's the one that's out by Uliagale, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then you kind of see the railroad had a whole lot to do with the settling of Claremore because it came through here, which makes a city grow. And then several of our leaders, Mr. Cates was involved in settlement. He was a businessman and a leader, and the Claremore Daily Progress became the newspaper. And in our museum, we don't have a whole lot of the history of Will Rogers because we have the Will Rogers Memorial.
Okay.
But Clem Van Rogers is figured here because he was a rancher, banker, senator, judge, and Cherokee leader, Will's father. And so he had a lot to do with business growing in the community. We had the Hayeses, Dr. and Mrs. Hayes. Phones came, the Mayberry Brothers Machine Shop.
So the Hayeses, was he one of the first doctors here?
Yes, he came from Kentucky, and he came here to set up practice. And he also established a drugstore here, so he was pretty well known by the whole community. Worthwhile life of service spent in bringing cheer and comfort to those who were sick.
And those are his actual glasses.
Yes.
Wow. That's neat to see the relics.
I know. And down here you'll see several of the vintage equipment that they used.
Little medicine bags.
The
Wow.
Black's Law Dictionary is still in use today. I mean, it's just a staple of the attorneys' libraries around the world. Mr. Bayless, businessman, built the Sequoia Hotel, which is no longer in existence. National Bank of Claremore, and something I found interesting is the Claremore Athletic Club existed way back, and it too is gone, but it was a central part of the downtown area. Mr. Bayless built the Belvedere Mansion.
Oh, did he really?
Which is just to the east
Yeah.
of our building, and still in use today as a restaurant, and you can take tours, and it's a venue for weddings and different things. He never got to live
I've
in
heard
it.
that place is haunted.
I've heard that too.
I've heard that place is haunted.
Well, I think there's quite a few stories and tales around about it, but Mr. Bayless's family never got to live in it because it wasn't finished.
Really?
And he died. And so he never got to make use of it. This is Mr. Davis, J.M. Davis. He's the one who collected all the guns, and we have a separate museum about his gun collection, which I think is reportedly one of the largest in the world.
Wow.
And
yeah, I think that's on our stop. I
is.
think that's on one of the stops on this tour, this Route 66 tour.
And it's not open today, but it is very much worth going to see. And then here is the little bit that we have about the Will Rogers legacy. And of course, his family was instrumental in settling it. We used to be the Will Rogers Library, and
Oh, really?
Will Rogers donated this property for that purpose. Then it became, once we built the newer library, then it became the headquarters for the firefighters in this area. And then today it is the Claremore Museum of History, and it has been since 2011.
This is so neat. So was a lot of the stuff, was it donated?
Yes, yes. Many of the citizens of Claremore kept things from their past, and they donated photographs and so forth. Then we have this history of Claremore from 1903 till 1939, and it just goes through some of the reasons it developed into a city. The radium water baths were not radium water. They were really just sulfuric waters. But many people thought that they were very curative. And so throughout the city, and even at the top of today's Will Rogers Hotel, they used to have what they call bathhouses. And people would come from all over
Really?
to take the cure at the radium bathhouses. And we had so many of them that, I mean, they almost outdid each other to compete. But many people thought that they were great for arthritis, they were great for skin disease, The problem is it smelled horrible.
I probably did.
And the merchants downtown decided finally that it was kind of taking away from their business, and so they didn't want the bathhouses around. But we did have several that were then built on the east side of town and became very well frequented as well.
Did they get healed at these bathhouses and stuff? Were they sick, or what was the main reason to go there?
They would just go there primarily for arthritis
Okay.
and skin diseases, and they thought that it really did
help
make
out
a difference.
Okay.
And so that's what they did. So anyway, we had the radium water bathhouses. We had the first lady doctor, Carolyn Bassman. We had academy schools, we had Hiawatha schools. You can see some of the books that were used for child learning purposes.
That's neat.
Mm-hmm.
An old metal lunchbox.
Yes, a lunch pail.
Lunch pail.
Yes, yes. But this just kind of tells the story of some of the more important buildings throughout the city. We now have Rogers State University at the top of Will Rogers Boulevard, right across the street from the Will Rogers Memorial.
Okay.
But it started out as a prep school, and that's one of those. And then it became the West Point of the Southwest, which was Oklahoma Military Academy. And when that closed in 1971, it went through a period of being a 2-year junior college and then on to become a 4-year university. And today it is, of course, Rogers State University.
Wow.
But many of the buildings that were established for the prep school and the military school are still in use. And it's become a much bigger campus.
I didn't realize that building's been there since 1909.
Yeah.
Wow.
And at the second level of that building, there is now another museum that's devoted to Oklahoma Military Academy.
Really?
And it tells this story.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go check that out.
Yeah, yeah. And just some other important businesses that were established at various points. And many of them no longer exist any longer, but part of the First Baptist Church, which is also kind of catty corner across from us, that part of the building is still there, but it's enlarged so much that it's not even recognizable. And this one was really, really destroyed during the recent tornado.
I was gonna say, is that the one that got hit by the tornado earlier this year?
It's so close to us that it's just incredible that our building did not struggle. And that's a brick from the original brick pavement that was on the streets of Claremore through downtown.
Man, that'd be cool to have one of those.
Yeah.
I was born in this town.
You
So
were?
that's, yes, I was born here. I was born at the Indian Hospital. That's why I was like, man, it'd be cool to have one of these bricks. Yeah, that's what's really neat, is getting to see all this history. And it's like, man, there's so much history about, my birthing town that I don't even know.
And there you see the OMA, the Oklahoma Military Academy. And it all kind of centers around one of the most beautiful views of Claremore in the area is from the hilltop. The Hillcats are up there in the memorial. The high school, original high school, also right across the street from us.
Okay.
But it's been changed totally. It's now a single story.
No way.
And it too was damaged terribly during the tornado. The Baptist Church now uses it for their youth ministry.
Okay.
And Sunday school classes
Okay.
and activities. Some of the banks, the oil companies, the hospitals. Lincoln School was the Black Communities School for African American kids.
Wow, when it was still segregated
Yes,
then.
that's correct. And we have a separate exhibit about Claremore's Black community, which is very well. There's your birthplace, the Indian
That's
Hospital.
it.
That's not like that at
It
all.
doesn't look
anymore.
like anything like I was born in.
No, it is.
That looks a lot better than what I was born in.
I kind of like the looks of that one. I don't know if it was in disrepair and they pulled it out or what exactly.
That's kind of neat.
Claremore Lake for the water reservoir. And then apparently we had a Bell's Confectionery. I don't remember that, but I was not born in Claremore. My husband was and remembers a lot of this. Mr. Milan was president of Rogers County Bank, and he also just did a lot for the development of the city.
Is he who founded the RCB?
Yes.
Is he? Oh, wow.
Yes.
So I didn't even realize that bank's been since 1936.
Yeah. The attorney, Robson, his family is still very much in the area. His son and daughter, well, his son particularly, I guess it would be his grandson, still lives here. This building was built about the same time as the museum was. It was also a WPA project building, which means that during Roosevelt's era as president, he was trying to put men back to work during the Depression.
Okay.
And they specifically hired out builders to build buildings. This is one of them, and the Armory was one of them. They did take that down, but it cost $40,000 to fund it. The library we're standing in was $10,000 at the time.
See, I remember that building.
Well, there were a lot of activities for kids in that building when you were probably growing up. Basketball.
I was going to say there was basketball, and the youth basketball was in there. It was always hot.
Teen Town dances and stuff when my husband was growing up.
Really? That'd have been cool.
And then the courthouse has been replaced, thank goodness.
It needed it so bad.
It really, really did.
By the way, y'all, if you come to Claremore and you come here to this history museum, you're going to be past that courthouse, and I promise you, leave a comment down below. I personally think that courthouse looks just like the Back to the Future courthouse. I mean, but from part 2. But that's just me. I think that it's a neat, I like the new courthouse.
Oh, I love it.
I love it.
The floors, have you paid attention to
Yes.
the floors? Beautiful.
They've got a lot of stuff.
This tells the story of 2 very famous Black athletic teams. The Lincoln Lions were a basketball team. They were one of the first state champion teams out of Rogers County, and it was an all-black team from Lincoln School that I showed you just a moment ago. One of the athletes on this team is this gentleman pictured right here. His name is Jerome Riley.
Okay.
And he is still part of our museum board today.
Is he really?
He knows about everything there is to know about Black Claremore.
Oh, wow.
And he's, they're fixing to do an interview with him that will be online.
Oh, I'd love to see that or do one with him myself. That'd be neat.
Voices of Claremore. He's a delightful fellow. He really is. And that's the trophy that they took away. And then we had a baseball team that was a pro team, actually, or I guess are they called farm teams?
I think farm teams, like a semi-pro.
And they were called the Claremore Clowns.
Sorry?
I think that's kind of an unfortunate name. But
It is. That's what I was like, that's kind of rude. I wonder if they made their name
I
themselves.
think they chose it themselves, but they went on to win some 60 games and were very well known in the area. Traveled to Bartlesville, Siloam Springs, Joplin, and anytime they could earn some money, they went and played. They earned between 50 cents and a quarter, each of them, for every game.
Wow.
And so, in this area right here is one of our newer exhibits, and it's a Black history of Claremore. We've had a lot of really important leaders in the community that graduated from Claremore schools, and we're particularly proud of the Lincoln School. One of our board members did this to scale replica of the Lincoln School. He's an architect and a draftsman, and he did that for us.
That's really cool. It was really neat, really neat.
We had lots of service persons who wrote home, and we have collected some of their letters here. I recently met Mr. William Snoddy, this gentleman right here. He actually won the NCAA 200-meter race while he was at OU.
Was he really?
And he became qualified to play in the Olympics.
Oh, that's cool.
But unfortunately, that was the year that it was hosted by Russia.
Oh no,
and
so you didn't
boycotted those.
So you didn't get to go.
And so he did not get to go.
That's a shame.
He's probably, I'm saying he's in his late 50s now, and still kind of upset about that.
Oh, I would still be upset.
This is the Mr. Riley that I was telling you about that was on that award-winning basketball team. And he still does a whole lot for our community.
That's wonderful.
Darnell Jones is a judge in Pennsylvania. He is also born in Claremore, went to law school at the American University, Washington College of Law. He was nominated by George W. Bush to become a U.S. District Court judge in Pennsylvania, and he was chosen as Claremore's member of the, we call it the Claremore Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Thing. And I was fortunate enough to meet him too, because his first degree was in French when he went to school. And that's what I taught for 38 years.
Oh, wow.
He came in my classroom and started speaking French with me, to the unbelievable amazement of my students. Yes. And my sister-in-law's father was a coach, and Darnell remembered him well and got acquainted with my sister-in-law. So he's a delightful fellow.
Now, I've heard about this. Is this the very first Black OHP trooper? I was looking for this gun a while back at the J.M. Davis, and this is where it's at. That's so cool.
Yes. And of course his hat is there as well, that he used.
That is so neat.
But we're proud of our Black community, and unfortunately they have been pretty much ignored.
Yeah.
And you see all the Black businesses. We had kind of a little Wall Street of Claremore for many years, and unfortunately that section of our town has disappeared pretty much.
It's a shame.
Right, but some great individuals who were big leaders in the community and still are. So
I like seeing all this, the old stuff.
I know. And that's Darnell's gavel.
His gavel there. So what do we have back here?
Back here is what we call the Lynn Riggs Gallery.
Okay.
But I want to tell you about Andy Payne first.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
He is very well known for being the winner of the Bunyan Derby.
What's the Bunyan Derby?
The Bunyan Derby was held from March to May of 1928.
It sounds painful.
And it was a long distance race that went from LA to New York City.
What?
And this gentleman never, ever had any formal training.
You've got to be kidding me. New York to LA.
Yes, sir. Took them 84 days.
84 days.
3,422.3 miles.
And here I'm doing good, doing 66 stops in 6 months. This is insane. This guy's insane. Look at this.
So they were running.
This guy's a stud.
40 miles miles a day. And he was a little Cherokee boy that had gone to California to try and make his fortune. And he saw this race advertised, and he said, well, I raced my ponies at home. I can give this a shot. And sure enough, 84 days later, 40 miles a day, having survived a bout of tonsillitis, having gone through 5 pairs of shoes, he won the whole thing. And he was competing with professionals who had won races before. C.C. Pyle was the organizer of this event, and he was apparently a big sportsman, and he made money off athletes, but he, collected some nice prize money to give out. But Andy won $25,000 in 1928.
25 grand in 28?
So,
that is a ton of money.
It's
a
fortune.
lot.
And
Lot.
He went on to become the clerk for the Oklahoma Supreme Court and stayed there until he died, I think, at 79. But with his money, he bought off his parents' farm. They were dirt poor, so he bought off the family farm, and he married his sweetheart. And Will Rogers is reported to have said when he ran through Claremore that I better be there or else he's going to replace me as Oklahoma's favorite state.
Oh my goodness, that's cool. A lot of respect for him then.
Yeah, he was a talented fellow and very, very unassuming. He did not, brag about his abilities or anything. But they were trying to promote Route 66 at the time, and it was in part dirt roads still that they were running on.
Wow.
And the shoes he wore were not our typical Nike or Adidas.
No,
or
that's what I was looking at in that
whatever.
picture when I was squatting down here. I thought, man,
Isn't that crazy?
There's no way that had to be comfortable. Especially with the socks just rolled down like that.
And there were no trainers. There were not really much of a medical staff on board.
Back then.
Oh, right. And this is the Lynn Riggs Gallery. Lynn Riggs is the gentleman who wrote the play, Grow the Lilacs, and it became the Broadway musical, Oklahoma.
I was going to say Oklahoma.
And later the film, Oklahoma. And he was a musician. You see his piano here.
Oh, this is his?
This is his. He was a musician. He was beloved in Hollywood.
Are those 6-shooters on the bottom? I thought that was like a 6-shooter barrel.
I don't think so. I think those are
Just
the
the
way
custom
they
wheels.
did. But that's an interesting question. I've never paid that much attention to it. And then he was also an artist, so that is a self-portrait that he did. And his own
That's really
glasses are there to the side. And then several other people whose artwork he admired is featured in this gallery. The downtown of Claremore is now known as the Lilac District because of his play.
Really? So that's where they got the name at then.
From Grow the Lilacs.
I had no idea that Lynn Riggs is the one that wrote that. I mean, I knew what the Green Grows the Lilacs that got turned into Oklahoma, but then to find out that Lynn Riggs wrote it, and it's like...
Right, and of course he grew up right here in Oklahoma. And he went on to become friends with people like Joan Crawford, Betty Davis he had on his arm at many, many big events in the acting world. And he was kind of their favorite escort. This is his personal library that was donated to the museum.
Whoa, this is his stuff.
Yeah, that's all his library.
That's neat.
And his life partner was Enrique. And these are some of the paintings that he did. The lamp you see on the end here is similar to the ones we have in the corner.
Oh, wow.
These were made by one of Lynn Riggs's favorite potters and artisans. So these are all Enrique's paintings. And for a time they lived in the Santa Fe area, and Enrique was, of course, of Hispanic origins, and you can see that in his artwork. The vivid colors and the depiction of native persons in the area.
I like the artwork.
I know. It's kind of primitive to me, but it's also just really reminiscent of the Santa Fe area.
Yeah, it does.
This is Lynn with a young Joan Crawford that's pictured there.
Does she come here to Claremore often?
I don't think so. I think these were all taken in Hollywood. Yeah, and he was awarded an honorary diploma from the University of Oklahoma.
Sweet.
And that's at their Santa Fe home.
Going to Mexico.
Yeah.
Those lamps are cool.
We recently had to replace the globes because a young kiddo that was at one of our events made the mistake of
Touching.
one of them, and it fell off and shattered.
Don't touch stuff in a museum, y'all. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. Keep your fingers off of it, kids.
It's hard to not.
So what do we have over here on this other side?
Well, I'll start with these two. One of the founders of our museum, her name is Judy Eagleton.
Okay.
She's highlighted here because she's a young gal that graduated from Claremore schools and was really, really proud of her roots. And she donated so many things that the museum has on hand. And so we've, attributed her contribution to
For the community and what
exhibit.
she's...
And some of you who are old enough will remember these old cameras.
Yeah.
The 57 Chevy, the Fun with Dick and Jane. It's all era specific. The zebras are the mascot of Claremore schools. And so you'll see a lot of zebra paraphernalia around too.
Claremore Zebras.
And Judy's family owned the Cadet Grill, which was located very close to what's currently the Will Rogers Hotel.
Okay.
It's no longer available, you can't go, but you see the menu below indicates some of the pricing of that cafe before it was closed. And then there's some memorabilia of the cafe and its existence. It was called the Cadet Grill because it was meant to service the OMA cadets
Okay.
that were at the military academy. And I point out some of these dishes to young folks. The one that has the number 15, I think, on it.
Yeah.
Is one of my favorites. A lot of people don't know what that was for.
Oh man, that's for banana split.
That's exactly right.
I knew that from growing up. Like, that's a banana
But you
split.
don't see those
No, you
dishes
don't.
much anymore, and the kids all think it was maybe for a hot dog or
No, that's a banana split.
yeah. But all of those dishes kind of came from the Cadet Grill.
That's neat.
Yeah,
I love the old cameras.
I know. Then the rest of what we're going to see is primarily famous people from Claremore.
Okay.
Helen Robson Walton is the wife of Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart.
Oh, and she was from here?
She is from Claremore. She died in 07, I believe, but she married Sam right here in Claremore. And they went on, as you well know, to create quite a life for themselves.
Yeah, that five and dime got kind of big, didn't it?
Yeah. And Helen's brother, Frank, still lives here in town. And you may remember earlier we saw their grandfather on the wall as one of the founders of the city.
Yeah.
L.S. Robson.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
they had some 16,000 acres in and around Claremore. And Sam and Helen, I think, met when they were both attending university in Arkansas. But they came back here to marry. And Helen's brother Frank is still here in town, and he's quite a philanthropist. He donated the Robson Performing Arts Center that's located out by the high school today. And he gives a lot to the community.
I had no idea that they had this close to ties.
Yeah.
Man, that's a lot of stuff in here.
And this is kind of what we call the Claremore School section.
Okay.
This tells the story of the prep school that we talked about.
Okay.
The Oklahoma Military Academy that became afterwards the West Point at the Southwest. And then just some photographs of the military leaders that OMA prepared. Young man that I dated years and years ago was at OMA, and he got an appointment to West Point and went on there. And at the military OMA museum, there's a little film of him.
Is there really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's.
And I just was surprised as I could be.
So he went to West Point and graduated
and served in the military for many years. But it then went through junior college, Rogers State College, Rogers University, and today we're at Rogers State University. It's all the same location. The campus has enlarged, buildings have been added, but there's lots of history still up there.
It's absolutely amazing.
Uh-huh. The home of the Hillcats.
The Hillcats or Hellcats?
Hillcats.
The Hillcats.
And then up above you, you see the zebra head that is meant to commemorate our mascot. I think Claremore is the only high school in the nation that uses the zebra as the mascot. I've been told there's a junior college, maybe in Florida, that also uses the zebra. But we're red and white colors instead of black and white.
Black and white.
And this is the reason we're called the zebrats, I guess. The legend has it that when Claremore High School came on the field with new uniforms one time, that someone in the crowds reported them saying they looked like a
zebra. Oh,
and
wow.
It stuck.
And it stuck.
So that's what we are.
And that's history, y'all.
But it's kind of fun on Fridays. Everybody gets dressed up like zebras, and it's not everybody can do that.
No.
And there's lots of tigers and, different mascots that are kind of common, but the zebra is not. And we're just finishing up with homecoming weekend, and it was the class of 1975, I guess, that had their 50th reunion. I know that sounds old to you, but...
Like it's not, because I'm like, man, I'm just...
Right.
Born pretty close to that date.
Uh-huh. So you're just a baby.
I am still a baby. I'm only about 3 years away from 50, so we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, you are. I have shoes older than you. And then these are some of the, this area back here just kind of shows the evolution of some of our schools, where they were, what they looked like, and what they're like today. And the superintendents of school are highlighted up there at the top. We have the band highlighted here and some of the very famous fellows who directed the bands that still march in homecomings in downtown Claremore. And we talked about Helen Robson, and this area right here highlights her brother Frank. The Tatler was our high school newspaper.
The Tatler?
Uh-huh. And there are tons of them in our office.
Is it really?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's surprising that all the kids held on to them.
Some of them really did, though, because, I mean, it really does tell a tale in itself of what was going on for the youth at Claremore. One of the astronauts on the Apollo 14 mission is Stuart Rossa, and he is from Claremore, Oklahoma. You see some gear that he wore in the cases here, and what the young kids have the most attraction to is this Lego rocket.
That is made out of Legos.
12,000 plus pieces.
Wow.
And I think, I may be telling the story, but I think it was built by a 4th grader.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, that kid's gonna go some places. He's going some places in life. 4th grader building that, y'all.
Uh-huh. So Stuart Rossa is the name of one of our grade schools, and every spring before they graduate, the 5th graders get to come here on a field trip and see pictures of their school namesake, and we talk a little bit about him. And we have a stargazing event in the spring and summer months that kind of highlights his contribution. He actually never set foot on the moon. He was the one responsible for orbiting while his co-pilots did their missions on the moon, the lunar survey.
I would say that's probably the most important job, to try to figure out how to get back home.
Uh-huh.
And get up there, but how are we getting back, guys?
Exactly.
Well, Rosa said, and they'd be like, all right, trust him.
Uh-huh.
He's up there flying around.
Well, he took some seeds with him that were for trees, and he brought them back, and even though they didn't go on the surface of the moon, they went to the moon.
To the moon.
And so we have in our park behind the museum, there's a spaceship toy, and there's also a moon tree.
And that's
grown.
Oh, wow.
One of the seeds he bought.
Oh, from one of the seeds? Oh, wow.
Uh-huh.
All right, y'all, we're gonna have to go check out the moon seed tree here in a little bit.
And it's kind of taken a beating with this heat this summer, but it's doing a little better. But these are all things that kind of went with it. That disc is what he used to navigate.
On the Apollo 11 or 14, I mean.
Uh-huh. And he had to close one eye and use that to navigate. And that actually has less technology than our cell phones do.
And it brought, see that, y'all? Less technology still got him home.
That's exactly right. But that would have scared the liver out of me.
Oh, yeah, I'd been a little nervous.
Uh-huh.
That is really neat.
Right. And then just 2 weeks ago, we took down an additional exhibit that was called the Patty Page Pop-Up Exhibit.
Okay.
Patty Page was a famous singer. She grew up here in Claremore. Her name was not Patty Page, it was Clara Fowler.
Clara Fowler.
Mm-hmm. But she had a beautiful voice, and one of the radio stations in Tulsa recognized that. And they hired her to do commercials. So Patty was one of 11 siblings in the family, and she went on to Hollywood and sang with the likes of Bob Hope, Tony Bennett, Bing Crosby, and at one point she had a show on every network, ABC, NBC, and
Did
CBS.
she really?
Uh-huh. She has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and that's a replica of it. And she was big news. Some people may remember her for the song, How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? That was Patty that made that famous.
Are you serious?
And then,
No way. I had no idea about that one.
And she also did the Tennessee Waltz, which was a favorite among people of my parents' and grandparents' generation. Patty Page paper dolls were a big thing, as well as the doll that you see pictured there. They were really popular with the young girls at the time. I don't know exactly how many records hit it to what we would call the top 50, but lots of them. So she was really well known. We had, until a couple of weeks ago, several of her gowns on display. And one of the gowns, she was so tiny that we couldn't find a mannequin that was small enough to fit the gown on. So we had to actually put some felt in the back
inside of it
so
to fill it up.
Zip it up enough to put it on the mannequin. But very well known, very talented, and I think a beautiful woman. Those cheekbones were just to die for.
Just a...
So that is Patty, and they called her Patty Page, the Singing Rage.
Singing Rage.
And this area is devoted to Lynn Riggs and his talent. He was a collector of several things, and these are some of the things that he had in his personal office. The Cherokee, you see, memorabilia. He was quite fond of his Cherokee origins. He lived on Shelter Island in New York, and it was a pretty isolated place so that you had to take a ferry to get to it. And then here is his personal recording device. That's his guitar that he used because he was a musician, he was a writer, but he was also an artist. And so this just shows, and he liked to record himself. So that's what that was for. And then here you can see how detail-oriented he was. When he wrote a play, he liked to envision what it would look like on stage.
So he'd make models, scale models of it?
He did scale models and displayed them for himself.
That is so neat.
And that is a typewriter. I don't know if that's his personal Smith Corona typewriter, but that is something that some of our young people don't even know what that is.
No. If you don't know, that's why we used to text back in the day. We used to text like that.
And so his most famous work was the play that became Oklahoma. And they're getting ready to, I think this spring, actually produce another of his plays off Broadway.
Really?
And some of our board members are going to go up and see it.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun.
Rodgers and Hammerstein, a big combination of names that anyone who loves old musicals will recognize. The play Oklahoma was their first collaboration.
Oh, I'm just now putting two and two together. What's in front of me? Is that really it?
That is the Surrey with the fringe on top.
Are you serious? This is it?
That's it. That's one of two that were used in the musical, the film.
It is in like pristine condition.
Well, we just refurbished, especially the fringe that's on top. It was looking pretty sad and sorry, and we had to send off to New York to find somebody who could actually do that. The wheels were repainted, and the leather seats were dusted off and cleaned up. And they used to actually use this for parades in Claremore.
Did they really?
but they decided that that was going to take its toll on it.
Yeah.
It's been retired now. But
This thing's probably worth more than half the cars that are out there on the streets.
maybe. Shirley Jones and, I'm going to forget if you see pictured on the monitor there. He played Curly, and she played the part of Lori. And those are the big stars of the movie. Do you know how Oklahoma became our state song, the music?
No, I did not.
Okay, well, I'll tell you a quick story about that.
Okay.
There was a young man at 23 years old who became a member of the House of Representatives for the state of Oklahoma, and his name was George Nye. And George Nye later became the lieutenant governor and the governor of Oklahoma. But
Okay.
when he was 23 was about the time that the musical came out,
Uh-huh.
and he loved the music, and he was singing it and listening to it on the radio. And so when he got to the house, he said, I need to change our state song because this is much happier and much more beautiful. And so there were older statesmen on the floor that did not agree with him at all. They much preferred the stoic, somber song that was currently in place. But he called upon his friend Ridge Bond, who was also from McAllister. Ridge was the only Oklahoma man to have ever performed the part of Curly on the Broadway stage. He said, Ridge, I need you to bring your boots and your cowboy hat, and I need you to come to the Capitol and sing Oklahoma for my fellow representatives. And Ridge happened to be in Oklahoma at the time. He said, okay, George, I'll do that for you.
I had no idea about all this.
And then he called upon the ladies at Edmond, in the choir at the university in Edmond. He said, girls, I need you all to come same day, that I want you to sing some of the other songs from the musical and just get everybody in the spirit of things.
Wow.
And then he called the music company in Oklahoma City, and he said, do you have any legislation that you need passed? Because I need a piano here on Monday morning for my 2 performers to do this. Well, all 3 of those things came together. The piano arrived, the girls from Edmond arrived, and his friend Ridge Bond arrived. And the girls sang, and then they preceded Ridge, and Ridge came in from the back waving his hat and singing, oh, Oklahoma.
Wow.
Well, they took a vote, and it passed.
And it passed, and that was it. Well, I appreciate your time. I'm going to shake your hand and get out of here. And
I enjoy telling this story. We're proud of this.
we're going to try to get to this next stop. So
Okay.
thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
I'm
I
glad
appreciate
we
it. Tell
answered.
Paula, thank you. Man, this is wonderful. This is a lot. I can't wait to review all this footage and go back through it so I know and just keep learning. Like, y'all, it's hard to record and look at the same time. You know, it's like I'm trying to record for all of y'all because it's like I don't have my full team here, but try to record and look, it's just stuff. So.
And don't neglect the architecture because
Yeah, I was getting some of that a while ago, and I thought, man, it's like just the old Santa Fe style.
And there's a little
Aztec
bit
style.
of Art Deco in it as well, because you know some Art Deco is pretty geometric, like a lot of Native American art.
Right.
And I think the black ceilings really make the architecture stand out.
Oh, the colors in here are perfect. But not much of a big place, but definitely worth stopping in, check it out. A lot of old artifacts, stuff from the city. They've got their stuff from the school, how the city was built. It's got the timeline of the history of the city and prominent figures and people that's been in there. So let's go get this stamp and call this an episode. Get out of here, get the next place. This kind of young lady's going to stamp the fourth stop for us. So stamp away. I think that's the right one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. There we go, y'all. Got these stamps. Okay, that was a ton of stuff that I had no idea about. This blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind of how much history that was just right here in my hometown. Well, birth town. Like I said, I'm from Tulsa, but birth town. But definitely, if you're in Claremore, you have absolutely got to stop here at the History Museum. And right across the street is this big spooky place over here. And I'm gonna have to get into that. We're gonna have to make this an episode, but let's walk back here right quick. She said that, sorry, my mouth is so dry just walking in there. You know, that's an hour of just knowledge, and I'm in awe of it. So she said that one of the guys in the Apollo 14 had taken some seeds and was trying to get them onto the moon, but he didn't get to go to the moon personally, but the seeds made it to the moon. And one of those seeds came back here, and the seeds that came back, they planted one of those seeds here, and one of these trees in this park, basically the seed's been on the moon. So call it the moon tree. See if we can find which one it is. See what we got. I don't know which one. Dude. All right, hang on. What is this? This one's got a plaque. This one says, oh, see, at Claremore High School, class of 1956, in memory of Phil Brasher. All right, let's see if this one might be it. Is this it? Is it? No, that's in remembrance. Walking out with a camera, just walking through a park looking for a tree, but we're gonna find. Oh shoot, we found it, y'all. Yo, here it is. Boom, boom, boom. Check this out. This, can you believe this? It says the moon tree, American sycamore. This tree is from a descendant of seeds taken to the moon aboard the Apollo 14 mission by astronaut Stuart Rossa in 1971. Presented to the Claremore Museum of History on May 23rd, 2021, in recognition of the 50th anniversary of Apollo 14. I've got to go to NASA. I wish I would have had my YouTube channel back when I went to NASA, but that's back when I raced motorcycles way back in the day, about 10, 12 years ago. And I've got to touch the Apollo 11, 14, the capsule, and I've got to touch the rocket that took them up there. But now, with my own physical hands, but may not be nothing to y'all, but yo, I just touched a tree that's been on the moon. So, started off as a little seedling, and it grew. But this place is actually really beautiful. I highly recommend coming out here. Take a stroll through there. Go find Carol. Talk to Carol. She gave me a wonderful tour. Thanks, Carol. Appreciate you. It was phenomenal to come out here. They have this park. It's really neat. You could come out here and basically probably picnic. Got flowered area. Start of the playground. Looks like a moon rock you can climb on for the kiddos. And then check this out. I wouldn't get little Freakmore off of this one. I think he'd be on this one days. He'd be like, Dad. Looks like they have a big gazebo over here. They got a nice little water fountain, like a statue of the gentleman that won that insane race that was from New York all the way to LA. It's a pretty cool statue. Now that I know what this stuff is, see, this is what's so fun is that come by these historical museums and you never know, like, we all see these little statues sitting outside, but when you find out the stories of these statues and what these people have accomplished, it's just amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. Maybe one of these days I'll be famous enough that somebody will have a statue of me. A big Freakmore. But anyway, looks like we got the Stan Thomas Memorial. This is August 17th, 1989. Wish they had this thing going. It probably looks like it'd be really pretty. But this place is literally, like I said, I'm going to leave the addresses up for you. But there's the fire station. This church right here has a brand new roof. It got, heavily hit by a tornado. It's got a lot of stuff new on it. got hit by a tornado earlier this year. But cool town, not just because I'm born here, but a lot of history, and the history that we learned here, that's just some of it. The paranormal history is really crazy. Maybe we'll do some episodes before too long over that. Other than that, I think it's time for me to get out of here. Call this an episode, get to the next location. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification. You don't want to miss any of these episodes. This is the Route 66 6-month tour. And I'm out of here. Love y'all. Stay freaky.